we decided we cannot be with so many people in a little room. So my older brother, I be a little emotional sometimes, so don't mind. My older brother and I went out, and we searched where we could get another room. So we came back a couple hours later, we found a room. I waited in that room, and my brother went for my parents, so we split up. And we didn't have any bed, we managed to make something, no bedding, nothing. By April of the 1940, the famous resort in the ghetto, that time they called it the ghetto already, was sealed off. Nobody could come in and could go out. In the ghetto came in 168,000 people. Now, then they ordered us to apply to work in the ghetto, to manufacture all kinds of things for the German army. Our hometown lodge was the second largest textile industry in Poland, in Europe, not in Poland, in Europe. England, Manchester was number one, and Lodge was the second one, largest textile industry. So the order was that the people who were applying for, have to stay in line to get a ration card, have to have a labor card, they have to go to work. Children 5 years of age up to the oldest individual had to be employed. What can a child of 5 years do? But we managed to get them registered in the factories and receive a ration card. My father was a highly educated individual. My other brothers and sisters also went to high school or to advanced studies. We also manufactured some textile things in the house. So we applied in the ghetto. We joined the textile industry. One of my brothers went to the tailor industry, and my sister went to another industry. But this is what we have. We finally got the rations. My father took sick. The following year, we called 2 doctors, which we knew in the ghetto. They came to see him and said, nothing they can do for him. There's no medication. 5 days later, he passed away. In the ghetto, while being in the ghetto, the Germans came in and selected people to empty out the ghetto because there was too much food to be handed out. But what they did, they set the cordon of a certain area of the ghetto, came in, told the people to get out of the rooms, go out in the backyard, the front yard, the backyard, and they made selections. The selection consisted, you go up on this left to right, to the right side. They came with trucks, with big trucks. So the people went on the truck, and I'm a witness to it, which I saw with my own eyes. They told the people to go into the big vans. They told the people to go in. They closed the doors, the rear doors, and they connected the exhaust pipe to the doors. I always liked to see what was going on. There was hiding around a little bit, go from one place to another. We found out later on that when the vans reached out that they get a certain area, about 10 miles or 15 miles from the ghetto, the people were already asphyxiated. Ditches were dug by the ghetto people, but those people from the vans were dumped in and covered. We had to work 12 hours a day. And for this we got a soup for lunch. And we got a ration of bread, about a quarter of a pound. This was going on day in and day out. If anybody took sick, there was no help, no medication, nothing. Then the Germans were not satisfied for what we were doing in the ghetto. So they said, we're going to take some people, we're going to send them out. One of my brothers was fetched in the street in the ghetto, was shipped out with the whole transport of people to Germany. This was in 1942, after my father passed away. I'm sorry, just before my father passed away. He didn't even know my father passed away. The whole transport of people were shipped to Germany. They worked in the farmers, in the fields and so forth. In the ghetto, there was we were in the ghetto like prisoners, but in the ghetto was another prisoner, a local prison, inside prison in the ghetto, a prison within a prison. One day they cordoned off our place and they told us to get out, and they took us, selected people to go on an open truck. So I was told to go up on the truck, so I crossed the street to go up on the truck, and I turned around, I saw the 3 officers selecting people. So instead of going on the truck, I went right into the backyard, into the other building, behind the door, and looked out what's going on. I saw my little sister on the truck. So I decided to come out. A Jewish policeman, we had our own police, our own fire people, but no trucks for the fire to help. The policeman was telling me, why do you want to go up? I said, my sister. He said, go. He said to me, go back. She'll be okay. I said, no, I want to be with her. And I saw my friend from the same building, from the the same house. So I went up in the truck. We were lucky. The truck didn't leave the ghetto. They took us, they put us into the local prison. So when we came to the local prison was about a half a mile from our house. I was familiar with the area. So I said to them, let me out first. I want to go in first, into the local prison. So I went into the local prison. What was the prison? Regular former family house. So I went in there, and I went towards the windows, like here, towards the window. And when they sealed the door, locked the door, I was standing with my sister and my friend near the window. We were there a number of hours. I saw the lunchtime or after lunch, whatever it was, they brought some soup to give it to the prisoners. So I said to my sister and my friend, Jack, don't run, stay here. Listen, the windows were boarded up with lumber. There were spaces between the border. So I said, hold it. I have an idea. I tried to push the board away from the window. I was successful. So I was afraid the police are going to see it. With their own police. So I was holding the board with the tips of my hand, the fingers. They shouldn't see my hand. So they were hungry too. They were Jewish people. They treated them, when they didn't need them, they killed them anyway. So I was holding the board up. I didn't see them, but I dropped it. They had about 12 or 14 inches clearance. I pushed out my friend. Then I pushed out my sister, and then they pulled me out. So we walked towards the entrance to the ghetto, to the prison. So I said, I knew the leader of the industry, we worked in the textile industry, Warshawski, Mr. Warshawski, or Dr. Warshawski, told us to come here. He said, go bring a certificate. I said, okay. In the meantime, someone was ringing the gate to come in with something. So instead of going back, so I knew the area. We turned around and we crossed the fence and we ran home. That night, they took out 12 to 13,000 people. We never saw them again. We were lucky. Another time when I was working towards we lived in the north and the south of the textile factory. We had to work. We had to cross a bridge, but there was the railroad, the trolley cars were crossing the ghetto, they were fenced off. So they built a high bridge. So we had to cross from one side of the street to the other. Before we approached, my brother and I, we approached the bridge, people were running in our directions. And a selection, they came to select people. So we ran back, we ran into a house. 6 strange people, we ran into a house. We went inside, we saw an opening in the ceiling. So we climbed in, we covered it. We heard the Germans coming and yelling, out, 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 get out, get out, get out, in German. Heraus, heraus. We were quiet. We stayed there for a number of hours. Towards towards evening, we came down. It was quiet, no German. We went home, and this was going on day in and day out. The ghetto was liquidated in August of 1944, from 1940 to 1994. $120,000 people were taken out from the ghetto and liquidated. When the ghetto was liquidated, there were 42,000 people in the ghetto. So they took us out from the ghetto. They took us to the railroad siding. They built a special siding outside the ghetto. They brought in railroad cars, closed railroad cars. They put us into the railroad cars. Standing, we had to stand, we couldn't sit down, there was nothing to rest on, just for animals. So they pushed us into the cars. When the cars were filled up, they sealed the outside. When it was completely filled up, they didn't give us any water, they didn't give us any food. Yeah, I'm sorry. They gave us a loaf of bread, 4 pounds. But 10 days before the liquidation, they didn't give us any food. So people were hungry. So they gave us the bread to entice us to go in. So those who went in got the bread, no water. They gave us a pail for personal hygiene, male, female, and kids. I paid maybe 5 gallons. They sealed the cars and they took the people out. We were in it. My mother, my two brothers with me, and my 2 sisters. They took us from the ghetto to Auschwitz. Took us 2.5, almost 3 days. Every railroad area, when the military people, military trains supposed to pass, we were waiting and resting. No food. The food we had, but didn't have any water. Finally, we arrived on a morning in Auschwitz, around maybe 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I don't remember. It was a little dark. They opened up the doors, unlocked it, and they told us to come down. The railroad height from the railroad opening, from the height from the railroad, from the door to the ground is 4 feet. Those who were near the door jumped down. They fell on the ground. The other people jumped on them. Then those who were capable of walking had to line up 5 in a row. Male and female were separated. We were my sister and my two sisters and my mother were separate. All women were separated from the men, but they held on together, 5 in a row. My 2 brothers, my neighbor, my friend, my 2 friends, we held in line, 5 in a row. So we had to approach away from the railroad cars, going towards the inside of the camp. So there was a tall officer selecting people to the left and to the right with the finger. I'll never forget it. And these were the famous SS men who performed, Dr. Mengele. I didn't even know him, but somebody told me later on that we met some people who worked in the camp. This was Dr. Mengele, the famous sadist in the world, performed operations, experiments on people, on children, men and women. But we passed and we walked into the area. They told us after he passed us, they took us to an open place for a shower to cut our hair. Any place, forgive me, any place where a human being has hair, they cut their hair. Then they told us to go inside to take a shower. So while we were walking prior to the open place, open field to get undressed, we heard the people who were working there, all the prisoners said, "You're going to hell." So we knew already what in Jewish they mentioned to us. Just in Canadian, we knew that we're going to be liquidated. So those people who were in front of us, near the entrance to the shower rooms, didn't want to go in. Finally they said, everything is okay. We went inside, they opened the windows before we went in. They told us to take a shower. There was no water. But they took a hose, it was hosed us up with cold water in August. Poland in August, it's pretty cold. So they spread us with water and told us to get out to line up 5 in a row to count us. We stayed there for about 4 till it was dark. And then they told us to go about 2 miles or less than 2 miles to a place to get uniforms. So they asked at the window, "What size do you need?" We said 5, they gave you a 7. You need a 7, they gave you a 5. And we got uniforms. Striped uniforms. Then we waited again, they took us we came into the regular camp. Then they took us from that place, we walked quite a distance to the gypsy camp. Gypsies were there before, they were all liquidated. They told us, they didn't give us to eat the whole day. No water, nothing. So in the evening, we went into that, called the barracks. They told us to go to sleep. They told us how we're going to sleep. So we had to sit down on the floor, spread the legs apart, and the next person went in between your legs. This way we slept tonight. Around sunrise, in the next morning, sunrise, they made an alarm. They gave a signal. We had to get up, go outside, stay in line for a recount to see if anybody escaped, or if anybody died. So we stayed there for hours until it was really daylight. They brought a kettle of dark water. They told us this is coffee. Now, how are you going to drink if you don't have any cups? So they gave us a tray, or a dish. I got a little pan. I dipped it in. This was, how are you going to drink it? So we had to drink it little by little. The same thing did with soup for lunch. So So we went in with our hands, instead of a spoon, we went in with our hands to fetch what they had, what they gave us. We were lucky. When I say we, my family, 3,000 people were lucky. We were only in that camp in Auschwitz. It was a death camp. We were they needed 3,000 people in Germany, in Dachau. How do I know? The people who selected us were lined up on table, sitting near the tables and selecting people. The way you pass by, if somebody was blinking or making, look at the eyes, look at how they walk. If you had anything not perfect, they told you to go to the right. And we walked through, we were lucky. The following day, they put us into the same, similar cars on the railroad, and we traveled a number of days from Auschwitz to Dachau. We arrived in the same thing happened with the food. They didn't give us any food, they didn't give us anything for the latrine, and no water, nothing. What they did, they took a hose when we stopped at the railroad siding and watered the walls. There were some openings in the cars. That's what we got some liquid. But when we arrived in Auschwitz, in Dachau, we were put not in the main camp. We were put into special camp which was built in the vicinity of Dachau, 16 different camps. When we came up when we arrived in Kaufering, the name of the town was Kaufering. We came out from the cars. They took a certain amount of people, 200 or 300 in each camp, and we stayed there for a number of months. We went to work. Two of my brothers and I worked in a place where we built a new railroad station. I was pretty sharp when I was a youngster. My older brother was familiar with electricity, so did I. So we volunteered to work. First we were working in an open field. Then they asked, who is an electrician? We volunteered to be electricians. So my older brother climbed up on a pole, 50 feet high, and he worked with the high voltage. He never worked at high voltage, 5,000 volts. And I went downstairs. Nothing happened to him, thank God. He came down. I volunteered to go into the machine shop, where they prepared all the stuff. I spoke a pretty fair German, but they took a liking to me. Two people took a liking to me. They asked me, are you Jewish? You don't sound Jewish. I said, no, I'm half Jewish. But they were nice people. They gave me a locker, they brought food, they said, you can eat here. Outside you don't have to go out and food. So we were there. We worked there from August till Christmas time. In the meantime, my older brother passed away Christmas time. And and we were transferred to a different camp. When we came to the next camp, it was already pretty bad. They made us work when the Germans needed what they call Hochtiefbau, underground bunkers and above. In German it's Hochtief. Hoch is the height, tief is the depth. They built underground bunkers in the forest. So the Americans were not bounded. So we worked 3 nights. We carried 50 kilo. 50 kilo. It's 2.5 pounds, over 100 pounds. Bags of sand, of cement, a whole night. I said to my brother and I said, we're going to die here. So we went back to the new camp. So we decided we're going to play sick. We went into the office and we claimed that we are sick. So they said, okay, you're going to stay in camp. We were very well filled up in the face. But they said I said, I'm swole. But they couldn't believe that a prisoner will have filled out their face. They didn't check. They said, okay, go ahead, go to the block number so-and-so and stay there. So we went there, we worked there. That particular camp was designated as a sick camp, Krankenlager. We volunteered to be with the sick people. So we stayed there from January to March. What we were doing? They brought in people, sick people, and we took care of them. So there were 2 doctors who needed help. So I volunteered to be the helper to the doctor. But how do I know all these things? How did we know about these things? It was my brother who was taken away in 1942, came back in beginning of 1944 by mistake. He was a very sick person. They were supposed to send him to Auschwitz, but they sent him back to the ghetto. So we were able to get him out from the transport, and he remained in the ghetto, and then they shipped him to Częstochowa, holy place for the mother Christian city. He was there. He was a good mechanic. He stayed there until the liberation. And he went back to Poland to lodge. We were in the field. I volunteered to be a nurse. My brother volunteered to be a nurse. And we survived that area. Then I say survived. We were handling people with typhoid, brain injury, and all kind of things. So finally, we got out from there. It was already end of March, close to April. So the Allies were approaching the camps. So the Germans decided they're going to liquidate the side camps. And we were taken by those who were able to walk. When on that march, we were taken from the side camps to the main camp, Dachau. We arrived there on a Wednesday, and 5 days. We arrived there on a Monday. Monday or Tuesday, I don't remember exactly. In main Dachau, the main camp, in the following Saturday we had a white flag on the building so that the Germans were surrounding the camp. And by the Sunday night, we were liberated April 29, 1945, by the Eisenhower's army passed by. They were going towards Munich. So what they did, they intercepted a message from Berlin to Dachau. In Dachau we were 33,000 people. So Eisenhower, the army intercepted the message that night they're supposed to liquidate all the people in the camp. How do we know this? Because we found out the next 3 days later, a major came in and gave us the message that you're safe. He told us the story. Then the people who were sick, when we came to Dachau, we said we don't mind to die as long as we see the Germans defeated. That night, hundreds of people died. The beds almost filled up from the floor to the ceiling with dead bodies. Finally, we were liberated. We stayed in Dachau. Now, those people were very ill, got help. I was liberated. I weighed close to 60 pounds. To be specific, about 56 pounds. A skeleton. Because I had typhoid before I came to the main camp. They gave us medication, gave us food, and then we were taken out from the main camp after the liberation to another camp, to a DP camp, displaced person camp. And he stayed there. Eisenhower came to visit us, General Eisenhower, and we were liberated by then. While we were in the P camp, the people came from the north to the south, traveling around to look for their relatives. While my brother and I were talking to people, somebody came over and said, we saw a list which people brought from the north. And we saw your name. We went to the list and we saw, looking for us. My two sisters survived. They were in the same camp with a famous young lady right now. What's it? From
Anne Frank.
Anne Frank. My mind is a little bit not perfect right now because I have Parkinson's. So Anne Frank died. They survived. Couple 10 days later, 2 weeks later, we decided we're going to see them. We went to Bergen-Belsen, the English zone. Took us almost 2.5 weeks to reach there. So everything was bombarded. Everywhere was damaged. The railroad, wherever our train was, the cars were going a certain direction. We said, we don't care where we go, as long as we can move in that direction. So we met them and we brought them back to the American zone. this was a short synopsis. We came to the United States. My brother and my sister, the younger sister, and I came to the United States in 1949. In the meantime, we studied in Germany after the war. My sister graduated Cato University in Frankfurt, pharmacist. My brothers didn't complete electrical engineering. And I was going to textile engineering in Germany. So we came in 1949 to Waterbury, Connecticut. 3 years later, I went back to school here. I studied engineering. I graduated engineering degree. I worked for quite a few, two, 3 companies. Was involved with politics for the government, projects. My sister went, instead of farm, she went to the farm to work in a hospital. My mother was involved with another job. And my sister got married. My brother got married. So did I. Have 2 sons. One is a doctor, one is an accountant. And I was involved, like I said, doing research for the government. I developed a project, I developed an item which for the Navy, for detection of atomic reactors. Under Kennedy's, when Kennedy became president, we had problems with the Russians. So he decided he was going to build all kind of bunkers and submarines with atomic reactors. I developed a unit for the Navy. I carried the patent for the Navy. I got $1 for it. For private industry. And I developed a lot of other things. I am very proud what I did. Reciprocated for letting me to come in to the United States. I'm very happy. I want to thank everybody who helped me to come in here. I made it condensed because I speak to children, I speak a different tone, intonation. I don't talk about these things because I give them a different background. I talk to all the people that speak differently. And this is the story. Now, if you wouldn't ask questions, you're welcome to ask questions.
And do you have a picture of yourself right after the war?
Yes.
When was that taken? When was that picture?
It was before the war or after the war?
November 1945.
Oh, right after.
Right after the war.
Right after the war. This gentleman weighed about, after the liberation, close to 60 pounds. This was November, what, about 89 pounds.
Thank you.